Hey guys, we're back
Hey,
for another
everybody.
week. The Low Carb Book Club. We've got Eat Meat and Stop Jogging by Mike Sheridan. Chapters, let's see here,
7
7
and
and
8.
8.
Yeah.
I have to sit there and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Yeah.
6. Okay. Yeah, it's crazy. I have to do that. I know. Anyway, how's everybody doing this week?
Well, I've
Sleeping?
been better. I had to have my cat put to sleep Friday.
Yeah,
He's
that's.
been sick for a while, but I
She
know it was the
told us
right thing to do, but it
backstage,
was so
so.
hard.
She
And
told us backstage, but I mean, I'm sorry, I don't want to make you talk about it on
your pet,
video.
yeah. I mean, your pets are family. How old was your cat?
16.
16. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And part of me feels guilty too, because like I didn't realize about cat food until like a few years ago, that it's like human food. You
Right.
sort of think since it's for sale and stuff, you just kind of assume that it's safe and good for them to eat. And really, I mean, like it was all full of grains and crap. So he's been having a really good diet for the last few years, but I still just feel guilty because I think, if I'd have fed him a better diet earlier on in his life, that he wouldn't have had the problems that he had. But
Well,
My dad always said, when you know better, you do better. And,
that's
right.
true.
you try to do better for what you knew better, for the
Yep.
time that you knew better. So,
And you don't know
And
what
that's
you don't know. So,
Mhm.
it's that unfortunately it has effects on our pets and our kids.
yeah.
I wish I had known, decades ago. I would have
Me
fed
too.
my kids differently. For sure.
Yeah.
Another way to look at it, Carrie, is that once you knew better, you did better, and your
Yeah.
cat lived longer and better than he probably would have otherwise had you continued, on that former path. So,
Oh, well, thank you for that, Charlie. That is a better way to look at it. I did do better when I learned better, so
That's
Yes.
right.
that's true.
That's
Yeah.
what you're supposed to do. There's so many things out there that are just pretty much, they feel like they're unknowable, and it takes a lot of research on our parts, individually. And then sometimes you still have trouble finding the right answer, but who would think that, our government would allow our pets to be fed something that would literally make them sick? Who would think that they would allow us to be fed something that would literally make us sick?
I
I
wonder if
know
the
we have a
nutritional
certain.
studies are as bad for pets as they are for people, or even worse.
I mean, I don't think it's possible to do a nutritional study just for the simple, like, I mean, I don't know. With pets, they might not think that it's that harmful to actually, to keep them in an environment where they would basically be force feeding them certain
Well,
amounts
yeah,
of
I mean,
certain
they
types
do
of
it.
food.
They test on animals for other
Yeah,
things. They keep
yeah,
them, so they probably could have a control group and a test group, and they have basically, they could even have them in a yard and separate yards and, have a
Mhm.
good life, but feed them differently. See how
yeah.
they do. But that,
I
there's no
doubt they're
money in
doing
that, right?
that.
There's no
I
money.
doubt very seriously they're doing that.
No one's going to do that. No. So,
No.
I mean, I'm sure they have some studies to prove that their bag dog food is the best, right?
Well,
probably.
what's terrible though is I have seen, like I had bought him a few years ago, I had bought him some cat food because I didn't just feed him the cheap crap even then, before I knew better. And I had bought him this food and it had peas in it. And I remember when I put it in his bowl and I was like, cats don't, I mean, even I knew that. I was like, they don't eat vegetables. Why does this cat
They
food
do
have
that for
peas in it?
protein. They do that for the pea protein. A lot of dog food has that as well.
And I'm just like, that's crazy. They don't, they
Yeah,
kill mice and rabbits,
I
they eat
read
birds.
that. I read when I was looking at getting our dog over into more of a species appropriate diet, I was reading up on it. I was reading that they can, they'll market that they have a certain amount of protein or a certain percentage of protein, but because the actual meat is more expensive, they'll have some meat, but then they'll fill it in with the pea protein.
These were actual peas, like the vegetable that actually, it wasn't like the protein, it was like actual peas
yeah.
I've seen
in
that
his
dog
food.
food
And I
too.
just remember saying,
I've
and he
seen
didn't
it
eat
dog
them.
food too. Yeah.
He didn't eat the peas.
He didn't like it. Okay.
No, he didn't eat them.
Wow.
All righty. Let's see. So how about everybody else? Lynn,
Yeah.
how's your week been?
I had a great week. I mean, my weigh-in last week, I broke my stall. I stopped doing the coffee with the heavy cream and everything. And I was down, like, as far as fat goes, almost 6 pounds of fat. It was like 5 pounds, a little over 5 pounds on the scale, but almost 6 pounds of fat. So that was good. And then on, was it last night or Friday night? Friday night. I went, for the first time, went line dancing.
I know, that was so adorable. I love that video. You look so cute.
My daughter said, "We come line dancing," and so it was kind of like a class, like a beginner class, and it was just held. It was a community event. It wasn't at a club or anything, but
yeah.
So you saw what I posted on Instagram. Yeah,
That was adorable.
Michelle.
And that before and after was just perfect because you just look so vibrant and beautiful and just.
Oh, did we lose Kim?
Oh no.
We lost her. Okay, she'll be back.
Yeah.
But in the meantime,
I kicked myself out evidently.
Where you went?
This mouse is so touchy. I have a MacBook and I'm a former, just PC user. So like I'm not used to Apple products. I love them, but like it's still a learning curve. And sometimes I just barely touch this mouse and it does whatever it wants to do.
Oh, wow. I'm gonna get a link to my skill for Michelle.
Okay.
It's very affordable, and I can't vouch that it's the same as a DEXA scan, but but it's also not expensive. And the trends that I found from this scale it's a Renfo scale, and it has right now it is $23.99. There's a $2 off coupon.
I have that scale, and then I also just got another scale. I ought to compare the two. But I've been doing I've been like advertising some stuff on TikTok for people for like different companies and stuff. And so I got a free scale.
Nice.
And yeah, it's really cool. Oh, I've gotten so much free stuff. Anyway, we're not here to talk about that. But
I always use the Renfo scale, and of course, I share my metrics on my channel. And you gotta download the app on your phone. And
I also did I have a scale, and I'm scatterbrained today. I'm just sorry, but I do have a video about it in an unboxing on my channel, and it's one of those that supposedly measures the like your body fat percentage and all that stuff. And I just can't for the life of me. If I was supposed to get $1 million, I couldn't tell you what the brand name is, but but I like it, and it was very reasonably priced, and I had gotten it off of Amazon, so you might want to check that one out too.
Well, mine is like my second one that I have it's called eTech City or something. I don't know. Yeah, it's like ETEKCITY. But anyway, if you find me on TikTok, you can click on my video and I'll get probably $1.
Oh, that's cool.
But it's fun, It's like I'm making videos anyway. I've been on TikTok since the beginning of the pandemic. And it was my outlet. It was my way of just basically passing the time and honestly learning to not hate seeing myself and hearing myself on video. Mm-hmm. It was just something I wanted to do. And, so I did it. And that kind of led me into doing YouTube and stuff. So anyway, I still do TikTok, but I don't really I'll put some carnivore stuff in there, but it's like kind of few and far between. But yeah, so if you find me over there, that's my whole personality. Yes, you get like nerdy Kim, the nurse. Over there, anything goes.
Uh-oh. I may have to sign up for TikTok just to see that.
Yeah.
If you're scared, I wouldn't go.
I don't spend any. I'm not scared. I don't spend any time.
There may be some select words on there, dispersed throughout
It's
the
the
video.
unfiltered Kim.
It's the unfiltered Kim. It's honestly probably closest to my true personality. But anyway, yeah, I'm gonna be rich in no time.
That's
Dollars
right.
scale,
Those dollars add up.
Oh, I also sell a kitchen scale, and you can scan stuff if you eat things in bags and boxes, and it'll pop up and tell you what the macros are, and then you can put your ribeye on there and tell it you're eating a ribeye, and it's really cool. But anyway, like I said, we're not here for that.
Yes, we haven't even.
I got Charlie laughing now. Okay, so Charlie, what about you? How's your week been?
Pretty good. So 2 things this past week. So yesterday I went to an in-person meetup here in the Midwest. So I got to meet a lot of fellow keto carnivore people in person. What was neat about this meetup versus prior ones is one, it wasn't at a restaurant. So it's just kind of at a private location. And then 2, most meetups I go to, it's like, whoever you sit next to is kind of who you get to know the most in the, short time that you have there. But what was unique about this one is that they went around the room. So there was, I don't know, maybe 30 people. And those that wanted to share their story took like 3 to 5 minutes to kind of explain their journey into keto or carnivore. So in that way, I got to know a lot more depth behind a lot of people than I normally would otherwise. So that was good. And then I started doing some new exercises earlier in the week. Somehow YouTube implanted these ideas in my head and I went out and did it. So I learned how to do the kettlebell swing. So I got like a 75-pound kettlebell and did that a couple of times.
Whoa.
Big kettlebell.
And then just to kind of help me realize, I'm more in a maintenance phase now at 180 pounds lost as to, what that signifies. I started doing farmer's carry. So I got 2 90-pound dumbbells, one in each arm, and I would walk up and down, a basketball court a couple times with that just to signify, how much weight I've lost. And
oh, wow.
That is quite a feat of strength. So it makes me appreciate my weight loss a little bit more, putting that into context, how hard it was.
Motivating.
Isn't that amazing how you carried that around every day of your life?
Yeah.
It's
just, oh God, you have just done a fabulous job. And I've actually shared your story with my daughter. She's just, kind of struggling. And so I'm trying to get her to go carnivore. And, she does some low carb. Yeah. But I think carnivore would be the thing for her. And so I've shared your story with her, so to give her some encouragement, so.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. And then real quick before we
have a question.
Okay. Do you want me to? Okay. I'll go to the question. Heard in another carnivore results, goals, or healing is harder, longer for a woman than a man. Can this be true, or is there something to be aware of, or is this just misinformation? Carrie, what do you think?
Okay, carnivore results. I know that women just traditionally, they lose weight and stuff differently than men anyway. Our body composition is just different. Our metabolism, we have different hormones that are, so I can see that is, I'm probably the not the best one, especially if we're referring to weight exactly. I'm probably not the best one to answer that question, but I can certainly see that results can be different for women, like the timetable and everything, because we all joke about how it's easy for like a man can just stop drinking beer. He can stop drinking beer and stop drinking sodas and drop 50 pounds in no time. Whereas with women, it's harder.
Yeah.
Or different. It's a different journey.
I agree. I think that in general, I mean, you're generalizing. Yeah, I think it's easier for men to lose weight, but I've definitely heard my share of men who get into these stalls and they struggle and they get stuck at certain places. And I mean, my weight has been actually pretty steady coming off, and and I'm 56. It's not like I'm, in my 30s. And I've found, I mean, it's been a little over a year and my fat loss is about 125 pounds. So that's really decent, steady weight loss. So I think it's really individual, even though men may have a more of a tendency to lose weight, there's so many factors that go into it.
Yeah, I think that there are so many factors that go into it. And the number one factor, I think, for most people, well, most women anyway, is hormones. Um, I've discovered recently that I am actually in menopause at 49 years old. So, yeah, it's going to be almost impossible for me to lose weight if I'm just eating standard American stuff, and I would probably be gaining weight. And the fact that I've lost and then I've just kind of held steady for, probably 6 months now. It disappoints me, but at the same time, when I look in the mirror at my body, I'm like, that's not the same body that was there 6 months ago. When I put on my bathing suit, because I have a pool, I swim almost every day in the summer. But when I put on my bathing suit, it's like I see a little dip in there where I didn't see one last year, So I think patience goes a long way. I think just eating the proper foods and then healing your body, whatever intracellular healing you have to do. I mean, there's so much to it. There's so many, like, it's not just calories in, calories out. There's just so many more factors that go into it. And, some people, and then your body just kind of, it'll plateau for a while and it'll be like, okay, let's make sure that we're not going to starve and then we can let go of some more, it's, yeah, that's what I think. And then Julie said, I think women have a harder time letting go of calorie restrictions and fear of fat. It might on average take a little longer to adapt to the dietary changes. And I also agree with that.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, I think another thing to consider too, I mean, agree with all of your points. Based on what we read in the last book by Nina Teicholz and stuff, with this low fat, eat less, move more type of stuff, you have to think that a lot more women have probably been dieting as, little girls, compared to men. So, with that kind of advice and adherence to that advice, it's possible that along with those hormones, women have been wrecking their bodies a lot longer. So it takes a lot longer to heal.
Yeah, and it often starts when you're developing, your hormonal profile. I know my first diet when I was 14. Mm-hmm. And, young girls' bodies are still changing so much at that age.
Mike said he quit carnivore last year because of lack of weight loss. He's back because the dark side is worse.
Right.
I probably might disagree with that. He's a proponent of the dark side.
True. Okay. So real quick, I'm going to tell what I've been up to for the last week, and then we'll get started because we've been going for a while now. So basically, I hit 1K on YouTube subscribers this week. So I was proud of that. I was like, I think I was 2 or 6 from 1,000. And then Carrie Mann, just out of the blue, I guess he saw my Facebook post, and he just out of the blue made a community post about it. And, of course, several people came over. So,
yeah. So you had the Carrie effect.
Yeah.
The Carrie effect.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Good.
So, we'll see if they stay. You can have somebody help you out, and I always appreciate it, but it's like they might not like my personality. Who knows?
I can't imagine that. Your personality is awesome.
Oh yeah, and also every once in a while YouTube comes through and scrubs your And yeah, they
Yeah.
take away some that they think are fake subscribers.
Yeah, they did that after the 24-hour live stream. Or let's see, was it the 24 or no, it was the first live stream he had before the 24. It was just like a 12-hour maybe. I don't know what it was. It was a long time ago. Anyway, so me and Bubba Rob both went on there, and we both got, several hundred followers. And then one morning I just kept getting texts from a bunch of people that had been on there, and they're like, YouTube just deleted like 50 of my subscribers. So I think they think, that's not a organic way to get subscribers or whatever. I don't know.
I had that happen too. I was on Carrie's channel back several months ago and had a huge boost, several hundred. And YouTube basically took away almost all of them. I mean, it really crushed me. Just because, I know I'm not a typical carnivore person, but I mean, I think I do have a story to tell, and I want to help people. And it was so like, it was cool, when I got all those new subscribers and stuff, and then they took it away, and I was just like,
you're deflated. I know.
Yeah.
So, and I don't like that, because we're forming a community here. Like, none of us here are trying to like get rich off of social media. Like, this is just, we have our little hobby, and this keeps us on track. It's almost like a, like a accountability meeting,
like a support group.
Yeah, support group. Mm-hmm. All right, guys, let's get into this.
Let's get into it.
All right.
Okay, so mistake number 7 is falling for the fiber fallacy. That's a lot of F's. So
it's effed up.
Yeah. I see. Mike sees what you did there, Carrie.
Yes, that is a Mikeism.
Yeah, it is.
Yes. I've been hanging around him too long, I guess.
So basically, everybody thinks that fiber's so great. We've been told that fiber's so great. And that, according to their observations from like some studies, they say that it lowers colon cancer and heart disease and all this stuff. And basically, they also say that meat goes very slowly, which it can go slower. It does digest slower. But they act like that's a bad thing. It's not necessarily a bad thing, as evidenced, but might I add, by their new drug that they give that slows down digestion.
Yes.
Anyway, I'm getting
they don't mind slowing your digestion down if they're making money off of it.
Yeah.
But with that said, that slows down transit time, which is different than slowing digestion. Because the transit
different
time,
than taking longer to digest, right?
It's taking longer to make its way through your system. So that has to do, it really affects your peristalsis.
Yeah.
As opposed to the mechanism of digestion itself. So it's a little bit different, but but yeah, he brought up that people think about rotting meat.
Yep.
And they think that that's what's happening in your gut, is that the meat is just sitting in there rotting like it would, so when we were in Texas, we did not read the instructions of the Airbnb very well about trash removal. And of course, all we ate all week was meat. So we had like 10 days worth of garbage bags.
Oh my God.
Full of like leftover meat and stuff that were sitting outside of around the corner out in front of this garage. Oh my goodness.
Oh man, I bet it stunk.
For all those people.
It was rancid. It had maggots.
Oh, yeah.
It was disgusting. And then when we finally realized that we were supposed to haul it out, like not where you can walk, like you had to drive to these bins to haul to where they wanted us to put the trash. Everyone with a truck had left. So we're all going, and we all have rental cars.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. So Tom from Meat and Marriage saved us. him and Annalise showed up, and he had a truck, and he had to put his t-shirt over his face, because it was stunk so bad. And yeah, he hauled it out for us.
See, that's the part that you don't see in the nice, pretty aesthetic videos on
right.
social media.
Could have filmed it.
I was watching Elle and Dr. Chafee, and she's like feeding him over her shoulder, and it's so cute. And then Bella and her
Max,
husband?
Yeah.
Or her boyfriend? I don't know.
Max, her fiance.
Okay. Anyway, it was so cute, and everything just looks so perfect. And I'm like, and then we've got the bags of rotting meat you're not seeing.
Rotting meat with maggots. Well, that was by day 10, but who knows? They were probably rotting the whole time because it was hot and humid.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Yeah, so that's not happening in our guts, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
And nobody says anything really to dispel that myth either.
Yeah.
Like nobody says, well, it's because you're actually just digesting all of those nutrients. I mean, we don't have I don't anyway, have that much waste because I just eat primarily.
Yeah. Think about how you would
feel.
Think about how you would feel if things were rotting like that in your gut.
Mm-hmm.
You would be in pain. You'd be bloated, you'd be full of gas, you would be in a lot of pain. You would probably, if all that enough of bad bacteria to cause that, you'd probably have diarrhea.
Yeah.
You would be sick. So no, that is definitely.
Has anyone seen that I think Kent Carnivore? So he's a guy named Lee in England. So he has an ostomy bag, and I don't know, for whatever reason, like he clearly helped me visualize and internalize that meat does not rot in the colon because he has a bird's eye view of that problem. And then I think Dr. Berry did a video and an interview with him and said, what does rot in your colon are, a lot of undigested vegetables. So
yeah, I've emptied a lot of colostomy bags in my nursing career, and yeah, I can tell you I've never once seen any remnant of any meat.
Yeah,
no matter where it was.
Favorite things to do.
I was just thinking today, I know it seems so simple, but it was like so profound to me. I was listening to a YouTuber. He's a young guy. I can't remember his name right now, but let's see. Carrie just interviewed him, I believe.
Young guy, really young guy.
Yeah, he's got curly.
Eddie.
Okay. Yes.
Smart.
He's good. He's smart. So I was listening to him, and so this is not an original thought, but it just got me to thinking. I'm like, that is so profound, but so simple. Like, what other animal or, what other creature, anything eats, like doesn't have a specific, like 2 or 3 foods, one food that it eats, but humans,
Right.
And it just got me to thinking. I was like, what on earth are we doing,
That's a good point. How many animals in nature eat their rainbow, so to speak, right? So
yeah, there's no other animal, no other living being, nothing that goes around just eating like, I think I'll have some of that and give me that, and then this, and we're gonna make our own, and we're gonna ground this up, and
like you said, they don't have a balanced diet.
Probably 1 to 3 or 4 foods that they eat.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's wild. I mean, and it's so simple. It's like such a simple thought, but when you really think about it, like sometimes you have to say, no, keep it simple, keep it simple, stupid. It's, we want to make things way more complex than they are. And
that was, I noticed when he said that too. I thought that was actually extremely profound, because it's like he was saying that they don't need a balanced diet, because I think they were talking about how, our parents, it was all about the food groups and having the balanced diet between all the food groups. And then he brought up that, animals do not have a balanced diet at all. And so it's, I don't know where we got sidetracked to feel that we need to basically take all of these foods of the whole animal kingdom and combine them on our plate.
Mm-hmm.
it's like
it's kind of bizarre, actually.
Yeah, we really need to be eating specific to our digestive systems, just like
Yeah, I was gonna, and that was the next thing I was getting ready to say. You hit the nail on the head there. Specific to our digestive system, like we didn't. Nobody ever looked at our digestive system and said, "Okay, this is how we're set up. So this implies that maybe we should be eating this way." You know, it was just like, no, let's get Oreos.
Right. But your vet knows it. You've got a dog and you got a cat. They're not going to tell you to mix their food and make sure they have a wide variety and put some people food in there. They know the species specific diet. You're not going to bring your hamster in and have the vet, tell you to feed it dog food.
Exactly.
So,
and another thing that's very profound is when I'm cooking in the kitchen, if the dog comes up and acts like it wants some, that's probably a pretty good indication that that's a good food for me to be eating.
Oh, yeah. My dog never wants vegetables.
They don't come up and beg for lettuce. They don't even beg for rice. They might eat it off the floor, but they're not going to come and just sit and like look at me like, come on. I know you're going to drop some.
That's true. That's true.
Julia said, even with your ruminants, cattle and sheep each eat forage, but they eat different things, which means they can graze the same land without eating everything the other one needs.
Yeah, so they're in symbiosis with each other. Yeah.
Mike said the pyramid scheme doomed us all. The food pyramid scheme. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, that's true. So,
all right.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, you just talked a lot about a lot of the stuff that we've already covered about the fallacies that are believed about red meat and colon cancer and you need fiber. And, when we were in Texas, another thing I did, when I had a chance to chat with Dr. Chafee for a while, we got talking about GI because, of course, my background is a GI nurse. I was asking him some questions and I told him my theory that, and I asked his opinion, my theory is that because we as people have all these big bulky stools and frequent stools, I'm wondering if that damages the lining of the colon and that's what creates the polyps and the diverticula, that can lead, and the polyps can lead to colon cancer. And because it's due to like little tears and damage to the colon from being stretched so much and so frequently. And he said he agreed. Mm-hmm. I would be very interested to see if there was, would be some sort of a study to show that. But that's an interesting theory because it does make sense.
So, Lynn, have you ever noticed the people that I have known that had a lot of those colon polyps and stuff? They're the people that have been like constipated all the time and, just constantly I feel like they're just constantly struggling with constipation. Have you made any, unofficial link in your mind between those two in practice or not?
What we were taught was that the constipation was more linked to the diverticula than the polyps.
But what if somebody doesn't have diverticulitis?
Yeah, I mean, I guess because I've dealt with so many patients that with diarrhea, constipation, all in normal stools. I haven't necessarily in my career seen a correlation. Okay. With constipation, it tends to be more linked to diverticula and hemorrhoids from straining.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean that causes hemorrhoids for sure.
But with that said, a lot, when people are constipated, they generally tend to be backs up on the descending colon, which is there on the left side. And that is also the most common place to have both diverticula and polyps. So
yeah, I was just curious. I just knew, and it's just like a handful of people that I just kind of made that mental link. It could be accurate. It could not be.
And it could be as well, too, that people who suffer with chronic constipation are some of them that are more likely to go in and get their colonoscopies to try to, just figure out what the problem is, make sure there's, no issues that need to be addressed. But
I think it's what they're eating.
I think it is too. So, I mean, if it's what you're eating is inflammatory, that's inflaming the walls of your colon.
Yeah.
And when there's inflammation, there's going to be damage. So, just like will grow, like arthritis is a protective mechanism because there's some sort of damage and your bone is trying to protect itself. I just wonder if that's what polyps are kind of all doing. Or could it be like a skin tag and insulin resistance? You grow, you develop skin tag.
Yeah.
Oh,
So, yeah. All these questions.
Sounds kind of suspicious.
That's a thought. That's a definite thought. And Lynn, did you say that it was typically on one side? Were you saying that the problems were on one side, or
mostly, not always, but most of the time, the problems are on the left side, the descending colon, which actually starts like way up under your rib cage and then goes down.
But that's kind of because of that's because that's the way it's set up, the left the descending colon's like all on the left side. So so most of the time I feel like, and then Lynn, you can clarify this for me because this is not from a GI perspective, but I feel like most of the time if I have pain on the left side, I don't worry as much.
Well, I think it's probably because people associate right side pain with appendicitis.
Yeah.
So
but I'm usually like, oh, that's probably just gas, or that's probably,
And often it is. Often it is gas because, and if you tend to be a little constipated, of course, it's going to back up there. Some people can be very constipated and their pain can be up high, on the left side, and they can be in a tremendous amount of pain because things are really backed up. But diverticulitis tends to show itself there as well. That's the most common place. Yeah. So if you ever have a sharp, steady, very specific, you can point to a pain that doesn't want to go away, and you might want to look into diverticulitis.
Okay. There's also a heading here that says whole grains equal inflammation. The misconceptions surrounding whole grains have been so strong for so long that I often hear this response: wheat and crops have been consumed for hundreds of years. I've eaten them, my parents ate them, and their parents ate them, and we all survived just fine. Those before us may have survived consuming a significant amount of whole grains, but how many died of heart disease or cancer or developed diabetes or dementia?
That's a lot.
Before
I do have a slide. I do have a couple slides, and one of the slides is the one that we just passed.
Okay.
That's related to what we're still talking about. So, and I actually didn't like this graph, but I figured I'd put it here anyways, because this has to do with, I guess there was a study that was done in 1989, and they compared a group. They said we're eating twice as much fiber than the control group. They said the group eating twice as much fiber ended up with a 23% greater risk of heart attack and a 27% greater risk of dying. But I was looking at this chart, and I don't know if you guys noticed this, but I think that must be relative risk they're talking about, because like the vertical is the percentage surviving and then the days on the trial. And so it's obviously over a year, like over 2 years that they did this trial. Looks like 700 plus days. And the percentages, though, they only give you like 85% and up. So the percentage difference is only a few percentage point difference. And I don't feel like this is a great study, because the upper trend is for people who were not given any dietary fiber advice. And the other group were ones that were given fiber advice. So I don't know how valid this is.
Yeah, how often do people follow advice? I don't know.
Right.
Yeah,
That's true.
But I figured I wanted to at least include it to show that hopefully people will see that we can actually take an objective view at these charts. We're not just going to look at the charts and go, ooh,
Yeah, I I just think when it comes to relative risk, it's just so misleading. I don't know. I
Right,
want to know
because
the absolute risk.
I want to know the absolute risk either.
Because like that was one thing that Eddie explained very well.
Yeah.
And when he was talking to Carrie, he said, the relative risk, basically like saying, let's say that you had a number like four people were dying of heart disease. I can't remember what example he used, and then it's increased to 9 people. Okay. But that's over 100% relative, right?
Yeah. Well, the good example I give, which is super easy to understand, is if you've got, 2 groups of 100 people, and in the study group, you have 1 death, and in the control group, you have 2 deaths.
Mm-hmm.
That's a difference of 1%, but they'll say there was 100% additional
100%,
risk of death,
But they don't tell you that's relative or
They
absolute.
don't tell you it's relative. No. So the absolute risk is 1%. The relative risk is 100%.
Yeah.
Poop matters. Yes, it
Like
does.
says, poop matters. Absolutely.
But
we get into potty talk quite frequently.
We do. Yes. I think people appreciate potty talk because we all got to go, right?
That's right.
And boy, you have problems when you don't go correctly or when it's too hard to go.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an important thing. And when you have those problems, that impacts everything.
Oh, yeah.
There's a brand of cereal that I sometimes see at the grocery store that kind of takes this to another level of the supposed importance of dietary fiber. It's called Poop Like a Champion. And it has, I think, like almost all of your daily recommendations for dietary fiber, but
Wow.
it just takes it to an extreme. And
that would be, I think people don't necessarily realize with fiber. I mean, maybe you do, but you can't just go from eating a little fiber to eating a lot of fiber because it is going to back you up. Even if you're adding fiber to help, to try to get things moving, you can't you have to ease into fiber because it's not just like, I need 30 grams of fiber a day and I'm only having 5. Okay, I'm going to all of a sudden have 30. No, you're going to be looking at a potential bowel obstruction. You just can't do that. So that's interesting that cereal, if it was that much. Now, did you happen to look to see how many grams of fiber were in it?
I thought it was like close to 20, depending on that it says it has at least half of the daily recommended allowance.
No, I don't remember that.
I may have to go.
I'm a huge SNL fan, but I don't remember that.
I don't have to look that one up.
I'll have to check that one out.
That is funny. Oh my word. But yeah, but I mean, basically we've seen that the studies really show that there's no relationship between eating fiber and having less bowel issues. And they are very,
of course, speaking of studies, the whole basis of the recommendation for fiber, was built on incomplete information being considered in the study. Like they were talking about, let's say Burkett also failed to mention that the tribes consuming small amounts of grains were putting them through intensive fermentation and preparation methods that actually removed the indigestible fiber he was promoting. So it's sort of like this whole process of elimination when they analyze this study data. And so we're being told to do the opposite of what they were actually doing, I guess.
Right.
Process of elimination is a great way to say it. So,
what'd you say?
Process of elimination is a great way to put it.
It is.
Good pun. Oh my goodness. But then he starts talking about the foreign proteins in grains, which of course is gluten.
Mm-hmm.
And so many people have issues with gluten. It creates an immune response because it's a foreign protein. And so your body's just doing what it's supposed to do. Makes
So
me
I was going to
wonder.
read this paragraph that I was on before we went back to the whatever it's called. I don't even know. To the slide. How
The
about that?
relative risk chart.
Yeah. So before the introduction of whole grains, we lived without many of the degenerative diseases that have unfortunately become common in today's world. Similar to the points made in the saturated fat section, agriculture and modern food processing techniques are not old, they're extremely young. Physicians and nutritionists are increasingly convinced that the dietary habits adopted by Western society over the past 100 years make a significant etiologic contribution to coronary heart disease, hypertension, diabetes, and some types of cancer. These conditions have emerged as major health problems only in the past century and are virtually unknown among the few surviving hunter-gatherer populations whose way of life and eating habits most closely resemble pre-agricultural human beings. So just because they've been around since you were a baby, it doesn't mean they are necessary or healthy. And I just think that that's quite interesting because, we think in the concept of like our lifetime, how many years we've been around. We don't think like these modern techniques of processing this garbage basically has only been around for like 100 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I didn't even realize that. So,
well, yeah, I mean, it's because we tend to be very egocentric in our thinking, right? Like the world revolves around us and our own experiences, and we, but yes, this is last 100 years is nothing.
And just having experience just in anything, like the younger people coming up, even like just when we're talking about recent times, like in the last 50 years, like I'm old enough to remember when I had gestational diabetes, they recommended you get rid of the white foods, bread, sugar, potatoes, for example, and told me to eat, basically meat and vegetables. But people like younger wouldn't even remember something like that or remember that diabetes was treated by diet. They just know what they're being told now. So there's not that perspective of age and experience,
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Apparently the African tribes who ate a ton of fibers, I'm not going to say bad words on here, pun intended, actually spat them out. Okay.
I don't know.
That's a lot, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, we read in the last book and from the Big Fat Surprise about these tribes that they had meat and they even drank the blood of the animals and they lived or some that just lived off of milk, which was interesting. I mean, some of these tribes are interesting to study because they do eat very different.
I mean, they had their one or two foods that they ate, right?
That's
ding,
true,
ding.
Kim. Yep.
Makes sense.
Yeah, very much so. But let's see. All right. So he brought up diabetes. Obesity plus diabetes causing chronic inflammation. And so I guess I can read this chapter. He says, aside from being a major contributor to most degenerative diseases, cancer, Alzheimer's disease, Alzheimer's, heart disease, etc., inflammation specific to the gut appears to predict obesity. So obesity plus diabetes caused by chronic inflammation has been strongly correlated with the adverse effects of circulating LPS or lipopolysaccharides in the gastrointestinal tract. These LPS molecules are elevated when the typical high carbohydrate meal is consumed and can lead to the development of leptin resistance. So that means you're going to be hungrier. You're going to stay hungrier longer and burn less fat. So, and he says, interestingly, researchers suggest that this chronic gut inflammation is heightened when there is a lack of saturated fat in the diet. And I definitely found that the fat does not upset my gut. I mean, you get adjusted, right? You got to get adapted to it. But yeah, but it does not upset my gut.
I almost think a lot of that, though, is the gut bacteria rather than like just the fat, because I think if you eat too much fat, you still will have, GI distress even
a
year later,
Yeah, your body will tell you if you're eating too much, that's for sure. So, but I don't have the bloating. I think that's the big thing with me. When
because your gut bacteria is different now,
Yeah, I mean, the bloating went away pretty quickly.
And I think that my GERD was from that too. It was from I probably had just some really messed up gut bacteria, and it was, you're not supposed to have that much bacteria in your small intestine, but sometimes when you get it, you get kind of out of whack with it. And you're eating a lot of things that you shouldn't be eating. You can have an overpopulation, small intestinal bacteria overgrowth or fungal, which in my case, it was fungal. And I think the yeast really made my whole system just inflamed and caused GERD. And because sometimes I would eat something, not sometimes, almost all the time, I would eat like specific foods. It would hit my stomach and it was almost like instant reflex, like a baby would spit up, I'd be like, oh, what was that? It's kind of gross. Sorry, but
you ever have an upper endoscopy?
Oh yeah, I have.
Yeah. Okay. So you didn't have
they don't test for yeast on those, evidently.
Well,
I don't.
Not unless they see something that looks like yeast, but I was going to say that they would test. I'm assuming they're going to check for H. pylori. And
I just connect it with my yeast because
probably
it starts up here in my sinuses and then it made its way down to my throat, and I had thrush in my throat. And then I also have this thing where it almost gets like hard to swallow. To me, it's almost like a symptom of, what's that called? When you have, sugar. My brain ain't working right today, guys. I can't remember words. When they have it's like a reactive esophagus, basically. It has a specific name. But like when people eat things and they're kind of like allergic to them, it'll make it where they can't even hardly swallow. That's the way it would do. It would get it would feel like it just like the peristalsis just was super slow.
Like the peristalsis was kind of stuck. It was basically dysphagia.
Yeah. But there was no reason for it. I even had swallow studies and everything.
That could be a mast cell thing.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah.
The more I hear,
mast cell activation can cause dysphagia. Yeah. I've had it when my mast cell disease was really out of control. I had that exact same symptom.
So do tomatoes bother you? Are they high histamine? I feel like
they don't me.
Back when I used to eat them, then yes, they did. They would cause, but tomatoes will loosen the gastroesophageal sphincter and make you more likely to reflux, that allow the stomach acid to reflux up into your esophagus.
So how long does it take for it to loosen the esophageal sphincter?
Good question. I'm not sure how long.
I'm just wondering because this was like an almost immediate, like it was almost immediate. Like I feel like I had a fungal esophagitis, but I don't know. I don't know that for sure.
Yeah. Oh, you could have.
Because what I would do is I would take my diflucan and then it would get better. And, I did that like 20, 30 times. So I diagnosed myself pretty much.
Yeah. Well, if they had seen any sort of inflammation at the time, and that's the thing with getting these upper endoscopies,
well, they never did it during the times of my
right. You have to have it when you're having symptoms.
Yeah. And that's the thing. They would say, oh, you're having horrible, intolerable symptoms. Okay, come back in 2 months and we'll do a upper GI on you.
Right.
I'm like, no.
But my symptoms wax and wane.
Go home. I will go home. I'll eat what I know I can eat that doesn't bother me. I will, take the medication that I have my way of getting, that may or may not be the best, that's not through you. And then I'll be fine. And okay, I'm not doing that. Like that's one of my biggest pet peeves with healthcare is they'll say, "Oh, you're having horrible depression. Okay. Well, we'll make you an appointment for 3 months from now, and you can come in." What?
Yeah.
What are we doing, people?
Yeah.
This is insane.
Yeah, well, that's true. But yeah,
Insane.
well, it's too bad they couldn't do it while you're in the middle. I mean, it could be eosinophilic esophagitis, which is
That's
reactive.
it. That's it. That was the word
Oh,
I was
that's what
looking
you're
for.
thinking?
Or yeah, because there was like some white involved, like there was some white kind of specks at the back of my throat. So I'm like, I think that's either yeast or eosinophilic esophagitis. Either way, I know that I can eat a certain way and it'll go away.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, definitely. All right, all the GI stuff is interesting, but yeah, so I mean, it's interesting. We were talking about damage to the intestinal tract. You mentioned that in whole grains, the lectins and the phytates that are present in whole grains actually can damage the walls of the intestinal tract.
yeah.
So, yeah. So fiber.
Oh, wait, hold on. Before you go any further, this is still fascinating to me, even though we've discussed it before. An 18-hour soak of beans will only remove 50% of the phytate,
Right.
or grains and legumes, I should say.
Right.
That is crazy.
Right. So you can get some of it out with heat. You can get some of it out with soaking, but getting all of it out sounds like is not very possible to do.
Like, what other food would we say, well, it's poison, but let's, we can make a couple tweaks to it, and then it'll be less poison, and then we can eat it.
And we'll eat it.
That's insane.
Because it's tasty poison.
I just don't understand it. It's just crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. When you do start thinking about some of this stuff, it really does not make sense. And like what, and I've heard Dr. Berry talk about this before, and I'm sure you all have too, where, for example, the foods that we're being told to eat are basically slave foods. It's stuff that you fed them to, it kept them alive, and they were able to work or do whatever they needed to do to produce for you, but it wasn't for optimal health by any means. It was a cheap way to sustain them. And that's what we're being told to do. And, that's healthy for you. And it's like, but if you really start applying logic to that, it's like, well, that just doesn't really make any sense.
Well, and of course we cook our meat, but when you think about it, if you get really, really fresh meat, you can eat it raw and it's not going to make you sick. It'll be just fine.
Yeah.
So we cook our meat because it's our dietary preference, but if you have really fresh meat, you don't have to cook it. You can just eat it raw as it came, in nature. So,
and we've been conditioned to think that was gross.
Yeah.
Whatever. I mean, my mother never would have dreamed of cooking, like a medium rare steak. My dad that's how he liked his steaks, and still does. And I was just conditioned, like, based on her feelings about it or whatever, that I wanted mine well done. And it was just quite by accident that I found that, medium rare is like best tasting steak. It was, and that's how I
grew the same way. I was like leather by the time my mom was done cooking it.
Yeah, that's why my parents, we always got ours either well done or medium well. And I thought that was perfect steak until I met my husband. And then he was just like, you really need to try. Well, I think they did well done. And he actually got me to try medium well. And I was like, yeah, it's okay. I didn't really, I didn't get it for the longest time. And then I backed off to medium. And so I settled at a happy medium.
I like medium rare.
Medium.
Yeah. I can't
I
do
don't like
rare.
medium rare. It's just, I don't know. I don't want to eat any raw either.
Pink. I don't like it. I always, if my husband's making the food, and I always say I don't want it to go moo.
Yeah.
I just don't want it red. I want it a little less than red.
Different places you go, usually I will say one step down from what I actually want, because unless you go to a really good steakhouse, most places do not know how to make a true, medium, or they'll always overcook them.
Mm-hmm. Right. That's true.
So how do you like yours, Charlie?
Oh, medium rare. So
yeah. So alrighty. Well, we've spent a lot of time on this chapter. You guys ready to move on to the next one?
Yeah, I think we can go to the next one.
Steak tartare. I have not had steak tartare.
Let's see. All right. So mistake number 8, thinking protein causes health problems. Yeah. So high protein does not equal kidney damage, despite what you've been told since the dawn of time.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes. Well, and he talks about where people that don't have any pre-existing kidney disease are fine with higher protein. Now, I've heard carnivores who actually did have pre-existing kidney disease that reversed eating carnivore.
Yeah, I think he kind of said two different things there. When I was listening, I'm like, wait a minute. It sounded like he said the opposite thing, because he kind of went back at the end and said that, these studies, that there's been like a study that showed a little bit of worsening but it turns out it was people who had pre-existing kidney disease. And then he said, he basically said others have shown improvement in their
Right.
kidney.
That was that nurse's health study that was done with 1,600 women over 11 years. And it concluded that a high protein diet causes kidney dysfunction. And he said what the media failed to communicate was that the participants experiencing the damage had pre-existing kidney damage. And again, it's also a nutritional study, which we know.
Yeah, it was a horrible study.
Horrible, right?
I remember this was the one. Wasn't this the one, Lynn, where they sent out a thing like every 5 years or something?
The food frequency questionnaires. That I don't remember if it was this particular study, but I know one of them they gave them like once a year, or they did like two. I was
thinking they said like once.
Study.
I thought they said like every 5 years or something. It was something ridiculous, whatever it was.
Ridiculous.
It was like based on a week of meals or one meal, and it wasn't even recorded meals. It was just like, how many cups of, ribs have you eaten in the last month?
And it's like, who measures ribs in cups?
Yeah.
Right. And they included under beef, they included like pasta dishes and, hamburgers and pizza and all this other stuff, and it had processed meats and carbs. They included that under beef. So no, it was really bad. But it's interesting. He was saying here that when it comes to like protein, he says it was almost as if we were all born with an instruction manual that said, and he lists all these bullet points: dietary cholesterol equals heart disease, cut calories to lose weight, red meat equals cancer, eat whole grains for fiber, and high protein diets cause kidney damage. So it's like all these things that we have had drilled into us. That is not the case.
I think I had my 3-month doctor follow-up visit, and he's like, hey, everything looks pretty good. Your cholesterol's a little high. Would you mind taking like a urinalysis test? I just want to make sure your kidneys are working all right with your high protein diet. So, of course it came back normal. So there was no worry there, but he was worried that since my mom is on kidney dialysis, that, there could be some hereditary link to watch out for. But I don't know. I wouldn't consider myself what I eat a high protein diet, but I do get that 1 gram of protein per pound of lean body mass every day. So I probably average that a day. But I don't know. I think what's interesting too is he talks about like hyperfiltration, how your kidneys will kind of go into overdrive to process the protein. And I was wondering if it corresponded to any lab tests that would, you would normally take when he talks
Well,
about.
I mean, they test your GFR, your glomerular filtration rate when you do,
Okay.
a metabolic panel. And I did read that your creatinine can be elevated a little bit when you're just doing a high protein diet, but that it's not, I forget, was it a book that we
I
read?
thought it was the BUN. I thought it was the BUN because of the
BUN. Yeah, he mentioned the BUN. I read elsewhere that the creatinine could be elevated, but that it's not an indicator of kidney dysfunction when it's because you're eating more meat. So it was a long time I read that. So, but yeah, he did mention that the BUN can be elevated when you're eating a high protein diet. But I do recall they said that some of these elevations don't necessarily translate into disease.
Mm-hmm.
Just like when we have an elevated LDL that shows up on our blood work does not translate into a disease or a risk factor for a disease. I read the same thing as with your kidneys when it's these values are elevated because of the protein. I mean, I don't know if you guys know Coach Amy with Steak and Butter Gang. She had her kidney disease. She had stage 3 kidney disease and it reversed on the carnivore diet. And, I've heard that from other people too, that they have had, chronic kidney disease that has actually gotten better eating carnivore. So
yeah, and we have to remember too that if you have a transient elevation in some of these levels, it's totally different than, if you have actual kidney disease, you're going to have a persistent and worsening elevation in your creatinine and your BUN and creatinine usually, but specifically we look at the creatinine and then the GFR.
Yeah, definitely. So
I'm glad we've got the nurses here because I know just enough about some of that stuff to be dangerous.
Yeah, me too.
Same, Carrie, same.
I never worked in nephrology. So, I mean, nephrology is like its own little monster there of a specialty.
I have taken care of patients with kidneys. So,
there we
go.
Too. But yeah, nephrology is complicated. It definitely is. So, I mean, we used to have people that had liver issues, and a lot of people with liver issues also have, kidney issues. Just like a lot of people with heart issues have kidney issues. So your organs, they work together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they do. And when they go bad, one of the worst symptoms or worst presentations that you can have is when you have the kidney failure and the renal failure together. When you start going into this multi-system organ failure and you're swelling up like a balloon, you're literally, you need to be diuresed, but your blood pressure's so low that we can't diurese you in the normal way. And, you might be yellow by then too. And I mean, the presentation is just so horrible. When
if you don't know what diuresed means, it's when you take a diuretic and you get rid of the water,
like Lasix or something.
Lasix.
Okay.
You can't. And I probably used the wrong. I meant dialyzed, not diuresed.
Yeah.
These people are in kidney and renal failure, so they're not able to process their own urine. So we have to dialyze them. Well, when their blood pressure's that low, you can't. And they're like just kidney and hepatorenal failure is awful. It's just like very ominous. They go downhill very quickly. And it's very hard to even know what to do because usually it's to the ICU and then they have to go through a dialysis that's a slow 24-hour dialysis. It's called CRRT or CVVHD. where basically they're just on it constantly.
Yeah,
So,
because dialysis will tank the blood pressure, and so you got to start with a decent supportive blood pressure there.
yeah,
And
I
your
mean,
blood pressure, you can't, if your heart isn't maintained and and your heart kidneys aren't maintaining your blood pressure, and then needing dialysis.
and even in an ideal, I don't want to say ideal because anybody on dialysis is not in an ideal health situation, but even in a fairly healthy, otherwise dialysis patient, if they get dialyzed too quickly, I mean, it's just like somebody pulled the rug out from under them. You get these patients back after dialysis and they're just like, I mean, they feel awful. Their blood pressure's down. They pull too quick sometimes, and a lot of times these outpatient clinics, the for-profit ones, will do that because they want to get them
I
through,
watched a video. Who was it? Did Dr. Berry or somebody interview someone? Yes.
Yeah.
And that was eye-opening because I
watched
had no
that. That
idea.
was fascinating. Yeah.
I had no idea either. I mean, you just assume these are like good places.
Oh, DaVita merged with the clinic that I used to work for, and it was weird. They were just so weird. They wanted everybody in our company, which was a large. I mean, we're like a huge, like regional multi-facility clinic, and they wanted all of us to come to one of their conferences for their employees, and I wouldn't go. I refused to go. But the people that did go said it was so uncomfortable. Like they've like pressure you to, it's like a whole, like, it's almost like a cult. And there's all this, it's just crazy. And everybody's like chanting, and they make you stay at this one hotel where it's held. They won't let you find your own accommodations. They room you with people that you don't even know. They make and and your badge, they won't let you leave the premises without badging out, and you can only go out for maybe a couple hours, and then you have to be back. And the people that came back said it was so uncomfortable and weird. I'm so glad I didn't go.
What was the point of that?
Yeah,
because I think it's because the leader, the guy who is in charge, I think that they want to get everybody on board and rah for the company and be all proud of the company, but it was just very cultish, and the actual practices with the patients were not good. Like you said, they live as like an assembly line. Anyways, it's so kidneys, that eating meat is actually good for the kidneys.
Julia said that her youngest brother passed away earlier this year with liver and kidney failure. He'd get abdominal fluid accumulation, also known as ascites. And blow up like a balloon. He only lasted about a month from diagnosis. It's a very bad diagnosis.
And with liver, I mean, and they have to do a paracentesis often, where they pull off the fluid, and that then tanks your whole fluid shifts. You have to be really careful. And with liver and kidneys, it's bad.
And I've seen patients where they just didn't pull that fluid in time, and they literally died unnecessarily. I mean, they weren't going to live forever. They had that condition, but I've seen it where, they were used to getting a very large amount off when they tapped their ascites, and they didn't do it in a timely fashion. And in my opinion, that led to the demise of the patient. Now, this wasn't at the place I currently work, just in case anybody knows where I work. It was not there. Okay. This was probably 20 years ago.
So. Well, and it used to be too that, like, a lot of times people will go into the emergency room if they really need to, and get, if they can't get in, to get a paracentesis in a real timely manner. And sometimes the emergency room will only pull out 3 liters. They won't pull out more than 3 liters.
Yeah. And some patients have to get 7 off.
And some people have to get 7, 8 liters, which but they have to get plasma, so that that all the fluid doesn't, shift horribly. But yeah. And so there's people that 3 liters is nothing for them. I mean, they're blown up like they're 12 months pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
It's
And
awful.
yeah,
It's so awful.
it's terrible.
All right.
Let's see.
Where are we at now? Let's see.
Well, let's see. I think like high protein does not equal bone loss, which I honestly had never heard of that.
I
Have
hadn't
you?
either.
So
Mm-mm.
that
I hadn't heard that either.
yeah, I was a little perplexed about that, but they were saying that a common belief, and possibly maybe that just has to do with the fact that maybe people are eating more protein than other, I guess, nutritious stuff, maybe, and that would make the bones suffer, or not enough. I don't know, but I just had never heard that, and I didn't know if you all had heard that either.
They said that there was a belief that there was a lot of excretion of calcium in the urine, because of when they measured the urinalysis of people on a high protein diet, they were finding an extra amount of calcium excreted in the urine, and they were just jumping and making to the assumption that it was being leached from the bones. But when they actually looked into it, they found out that no, that was not the case. It was not coming, so it wasn't pulling the calcium out of the bones and then excreting it in the urine. So, but he didn't mention where the calcium was coming from. He just said that they found out it was not coming out of the bones, that people's bone density was not, getting worse.
And I liked this little fact. A study from 1999 in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that an increase in dietary protein reduces the risk of hip fracture in postmenopausal women.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yay! So,
and my bone density went from low when I first started, weighing in on my smart scale. My bone density was in the low category, and now I'm in the middle of the normal category.
You're normal.
Yeah, I'm normal in one way. It's one of the few metrics that's actually within the normal range now. But yeah, so I gained, and I got 1.6 pounds of bone is what I gained. So I've gained bone density from eating this way.
Well, so I say that about that study, but then this is probably not any better of study than any of the other ones. I just like this particular one.
Well, but here's the thing. I mean, the studies, people are selective about what studies that they refer to.
Yeah.
And so in common conventional wisdom now, I mean, they refer to garbage studies. So it's like, I think all of them to an extent, or just by the nature of what they are, they're not that good. But it's just that we're so accustomed to the ones that present the other point of view. And just to me, like he was saying in here, it's unrealistic to think that our ancestral diet that contained nearly 4 times the protein we consume today now adversely affects our bone health. I mean, that's the truth. It's like, why? Well, it's just like the cholesterol, the lipids, all of this stuff.
Right.
The stuff that our bodies made this to fight itself. It when you really stop and think about it, it's not logical, or it isn't to me.
Yeah. There's so many things when you just break it down to just the common sense, basic, constituents of it. It just doesn't make sense, and if things don't make sense, I like to lean towards that, lean towards, okay, what makes the most sense? Right. Our otherwise pretty darn perfectly performing bodies are just going to, attack themselves for no reason.
Yeah.
No, it's probably something we're doing, or probably something in the environment, or,
Mm-hmm.
So he mentioned the Framingham osteoporosis study, and how it showed that eating meat actually, He said the Framingham osteoporosis study from the year 2000 looked at 615 men and women over age 75 years old and analyzed a daily protein intake ranging from 14 grams, which is not much at all, to 175 grams. Not only did a higher intake show no correlation with bone loss, but those who ate less protein had more bone loss. So the less protein you eat, the more you're losing bone.
Yeah.
So that's not good. So, and he said that animal foods are our best source of vitamin D other than the sun, and vitamin D levels in our blood are directly correlation with our absorption of calcium. So it actually can help. That must be why, maybe that's why I'm gaining bone.
I want to read this paragraph because I found this really interesting, especially considering there are so many people online that are like touting alkaline water and things like that.
Yeah.
But it says protein is acidic but not harmful. The acid ash hypothesis suggests that every time we eat and metabolize food, an acid or alkaline ash is left behind that contributes to our overall pH. When that pH is low or acidic, our body must fight to maintain homeostasis, which means adding a base to neutralize the environment. Generally, it's thought that this neutralizer is calcium, which would suggest a loss of calcium and bone from an acidic diet. It's become common practice to blame animal protein for producing an acidic state, despite bread and cheese being equally acidic. This goes back to my earlier point that there's an unfortunate assumption that eating animal protein means cheeseburgers and pizza. Before we continue with the acid alkaline discussion, it's important to recognize that swapping meat for high fiber whole grains, as is recommended, does not improve the acidity.
Yeah, and I do have a slide. That chart that you had, of course, I put it vertical. If you want to show it.
Let me finish the paragraph. Okay.
Yeah.
Interestingly, if meat were the culprit, for the corporate culprit for producing a low pH, you would expect our hunter-gatherer ancestors who derive 35% of their calories from animal protein to have a net acidic diet. Yet it's been proven that the pre-agricultural diet is in fact alkaline, which could lead you to assume that perhaps it's the overconsumption of other acidic foods skewing the balance. That being said, an acidic diet has nothing to worry about in the first place, because even though additional acid appears to produce more calcium in the urine, research has determined that calcium metabolism is not negatively affected. There's calcium, but it's not from the bone. And then he also went on to say, the acid ash hypothesis holds true in the sense that there are remnants left behind after the metabolism of food. However, many fail to acknowledge the important role that kidneys play in regulating the pH. Bicarbonate ions found in the blood are perfectly capable of buffering the acid left behind from protein metabolism. These bicarbonate ions act as a neutralizer when acidic foods are ingested and are replaced every time new ones from the kidney are excreted, removing the need for calcium excretion to buffer the acidic environment and maintain homeostasis. And in other words, protein is an acid-forming food, but it increases the body's ability to excrete acid while improving absorption. So basically, our bodies are perfectly set up to regulate,
right,
and keep a pH balance within its norm. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
If your pH balance of your blood is not in its norm, you're in big time trouble and you're probably in the ICU. Okay.
Right.
But your body is perfectly able to do that. There's nothing that you can eat that's going to like make your pH go all out of whack, because your body is perfectly suited to adjust that.
That's your kidney's job.
Yeah.
Yes. Because if your urine, if your blood is acidic or alkalotic, you're going to have problems. But your kidney's job is to regulate that so that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So that's why we do blood gases. We check for that with the blood, but the kidney's job is to regulate it. And so if you have a blood gases are off, it can link to poor kidney function and poor respiratory function.
And your lungs. So your kidneys and your lungs are both
Mm-hmm.
responsible for maintaining your body's pH.
Yeah.
But anyway, let me add this to the stage here.
So he had it tipped sideways.
Yeah, I was going to say, but you couldn't really read it that way. So
yeah, but he basically lists a whole bunch of foods that are alkaline and foods that are acidic. And I think his point was, look at all the acidic foods. Beef is down there, but look at all the other acidic foods. And so he was, chicken, they've got chicken, they've got eggs on the acidic side, but they've got cheese,
pastries.
Yeah, but they've also got all this as sugar, beer, beans, fruit juices,
Yeah, but it doesn't matter because we can sort that out.
Coffee.
Eat what makes you feel the best, which, for me it's going to be meat.
With these measurements here of the pH, is this the pH of the food itself before we eat it?
That's my understanding.
That's my understanding as well, but he didn't specify. He didn't really explain this diagram.
I don't see how it would be anything but that.
Stuck it in there. I think his point, though, the point he brought was what Kim read, that we're blaming a low pH on the meat, but look at all the other stuff that are also acidic. So he basically said that if we take away all that other unhealthy acidic stuff, that there's not any issues with,
But back to but this is all irrelevant really, because your stomach acid is so much more acidic than any of that. And well, let's see, what is your normal stomach acid?
Oh, about 3.
Yeah, so I don't want to say than any of that. Maybe there's some that's down there, but your body is your body's going to work things out.
So we got a comment.
It's going to affect your blood pH.
Proud to be weird was a nutritionist, so she's got some great comments and great feedback that might help us understand this. I've kind of been following her little comments here. It's all about the hydrogen ions once digested. So maybe that's how they're ranking it, is the hydrogen ions that are of the digested food, perhaps. So
I would think that would be the pH of the thing itself, since like alkaline water is alkaline. So that would be it.
Yeah, I would think so too.
So that would be before you put it in your body.
Yeah.
And then your stomach your stomach acid is going to act on it, and it's not going to change your blood pH, which is what some people online will say.
Yeah. And I've heard Dr. Berry address that too, that it's just a marketing thing because your body controls that, and you can't eat something that
why?
Well, I always thought when they were like promoting all this alkaline water, like why would you drink the alkaline water? Because your kidneys are just going to regulate. I mean, your body wants to be at homeostasis.
So we're talking about the alkaline water that they sell in the store. Like it's some kind of gimmicky thing. I've never bought it myself. I can't imagine why I would want to do that. But yeah, it is supposedly alkaline, this water.
Yeah.
But it's like a special water that,
Yeah, they say the one that I've seen, they say it's like a 9.0 pH. Yeah. It's artificially, so that is the food. Interesting.
Oh, yeah. Okay, here we go, Julia. This is really what depending on the source, stomach acidity ranges from 1 to 3.5 with an average around 1.5 to 2. So that's why, like Dr. Berry always says, your stomach acid is and the difference in acidity between a 1 and a 3 is like tremendous. Okay. Like this scale, it goes from, 0 to 10, but that's a huge difference. Okay. It's not just like a little bit.
Yeah.
It's like a logarithmic scale, right? So.
Yeah, they bicarbonate. Yeah. Which is like your body, your kidneys can do that.
Yeah.
You're probably just breathing the excess bicarb out.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like it's perfectly adapted to get rid of that excess, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, that's amazing because, if you're not a nurse, you probably haven't learned this, or a doctor or whatever, but your lungs are, like Kim said, it's your lungs and your kidneys. So your breathing can actually adjust to blow off the extra, CO2 and lower your pH. And so it's amazing how the body wants to stay in a state of homeostasis, and our organs are all involved in the orchestra.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like if there was anything to this acid, bone, calcium theory, that all of us should have pretty bad like bone mineral density scores on the DEXA scans. But mine, I took it last year just because there was a group on sale, but it said, well, I learned two things. One, I've got a really thick skull, and two, scored it as a 9.0, which put me in the 100th percentile. So
Charlie, you're an overachiever, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, proud to be weird. When we get in the way, we screw things up.
Yep.
I think that could, summarize basically a lot of the books that we've read is, when we as people try to get in there and mess around with stuff, we don't always do it to the, it's usually to our detriment.
Yeah.
We muck around with nature and really mess it up.
We muck around and find out.
Yes.
See what I did there? Where's he at? Where's Mike?
Yes.
Oh, all right. So he says high protein does not equal cancer. That's another thing that is a misconception as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he mentioned there vegetarians will say, cancer grows in an acidic environment, and meat is very acidic. Takes a bite of bagel and cream cheese and a sip of skinny vanilla latte. And then goes on to say there's tons of research showing that an alkaline diet prevents cancer growth and can even remove cancer cells. So he says cancer cells can grow in any environment, but most experiments show its growth at normal pH of 7.4. Second, the body is more tolerant to low pH acidosis than high pH alkalosis, with the lowest survival level at 6.8 plus minus a 0.6. What does that mean? Compared to the maximum survival level at 7.8. I guess your body can get as low as 6.8, your body pH. And I wonder if he meant plus or minus 0.6.
No, I think he means that the difference between 6.8 to 7.4 is 0.6. Right?
Oh, and yeah.
I might have to count.
Yeah.
No, it is.
Fingers and toes.
No, in other words,
you can only go down by about 0.6 and have it be survivable.
Yeah.
Yeah. So your body wants to maintain that low, that homeostasis.
But we do see people below that, just so you know.
Yes.
And then we help them survive.
Yes. That's why hospitals can be good. So he said most of the theories implicating an acidic diet causing cancer depend on blood and other fluids changing their pH based on the type of food we choose to eat, which is not possible. The pH level of the food you're eating can alter the acid or alkaline measure of your urine, but cannot adjust the pH of extracellular fluid and blood.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's not the acidic blood that produces cancer. It's cancer that produces the acidic blood. So that's what I was trying to say. Like if your urine, just because your urine pH is off, doesn't mean that your blood pH is off.
Yeah, because your body's using your urine to get some of that out, right?
Yeah, to make those adjustments and maybe just excrete out some, some of the acid. And
can I just tell you guys, like, the whole time we're talking about this, it just makes me extremely nervous. Like, what am I going to say? Is it going to be wrong? Because let me tell you all, okay, I've been a nurse for 24 years, and still one of the most complex concepts for me to grasp, and then I have to sit and think about every single time, is the whole acid-base balance thing. I have a little book in there that I've never gotten rid of. I got rid of most of my nursing textbooks. I've never gotten rid of it because it's talking about, acid-base balance and calculating that, and just figuring out whether things are respiratory acidosis, respiratory alkalosis, metabolic acidosis, metabolic alkalosis. It's complex.
It is one of the more and blood gas interpretation is one of the more complicated things. Yeah. And it has been so long because I've been out of the hospital. I've worked in the hospital. The last time I worked in the hospital was like 2015. So it's like I haven't had to worry about blood gases, but I remember.
I mean, when I was working in the ICU, like every day, it was a little bit different. It came a little bit easier for me. But, it's still like I have to remember, like we would put it all out and we would do like down arrow, up arrow. Mm-hmm. And if you had 2 down arrows and an up arrow, it was this. And, it's a complex thing. So just so you all know,
wow,
it's pretty complex, and it's with good reason. Your body is handling things until it doesn't handle it. And then you have to come to us and let us try to handle it.
Well, and then there's compensatory, it's not just one or the other. They'll tell you whether one organ, your lungs are compensating or are your kidneys compensating.
Yeah.
And based on the
or not compensated.
Like
when you read it out, you would say like metabolic acidosis compensated or uncompensated, so it got really hairy.
Oh yeah, it's complicated. Yeah, because you can look at those numbers and you can see are both the lungs and the kidneys given up? Which direction is it in, or is one of them still compensating? Yeah, it is complicated. So it's a good thing that what we eat doesn't affect our blood.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because we'd be in big time trouble.
We'd be in big trouble.
Oh.
Yeah. All right. So I guess we're done. So we got 2 more chapters in this book.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. And then
he gives us this little quote at the end of this that's leading into the next chapter. And I'm like, okay, he's getting ready to start talking about exercise now. He says, while the endurance athlete has a need to maintain a high submaximal intensity for long periods to be successful, the vast majority of athletes, and certainly humans in general, have no need for this type of activity. So, dun, dun, dun. This is what we're getting ready to start talking about.
Yes.
So let's see. How many more chapters do we have, Lynn?
2. And I did my 3rd slide is announcing our next book.
Oh, okay. Let me get over here then.
And I just put the Amazon, a snapshot of the Amazon.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. I'm going to make it big. Hopefully I can get back to us.
You can see it shows I purchased it today.
And her credit card number is. All right. So we're going to be doing Good Energy by Casey Means. Casey is the sister of, let's see here, what's his name?
Callie.
Callie. Mm-hmm. Is it Callie?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Callie Means. And she's a doctor. And she's do they own the business, Charlie?
I think she's like either a co-founder or co-president or something for that CGM company, Levels.
Yeah, Levels, I think. Yeah. Is it Levels? Anyway, so they have like a CGM company, and just listening to this woman speak is just amazing. Like, she is just so good. She's made the rounds on all of the carnivore channels. And so we think that we can gain a lot from her, even though she's not necessarily like a carnivore based, doctor or whatever. She's super smart and just like common sense. and like, this is wrong. Like, why are we doing this? And when she talked in one of her interviews, I'm trying to remember which one it was. I think it might have been with Dr. Boz, but she was talking about, she used to be an ENT, surgeon. So not head and neck, ear, nose, and throat surgeon. And she was talking about how they would do all these repeated sinus surgeries on people. And it was like, okay, there they did it. And okay, they're good now. And then she'd see them come right back, down the road for their another sinus surgery. So she's like, what are we doing? We're not fixing anything. And she wanted to actually help people, which is what I also want to do. I can help them out with that, and I can help them recover from their 5th sinus surgery, but I want to help them not have sinus infections. And I think we can do that. And so does she. So, I think we all think that.
Doctor.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to this one.
Oh,
me too.
Hey, awesome. Good. Well, I had never heard of her before. So this is going to be a brand new introduction.
Yeah.
To her for me.
That'll be good.
So I'm excited. My book's coming tomorrow.
You know what you need to do, Lynn, before you read her book? Because I don't know, I feel like you need to see her as your, I need to see the author reading it or hear them in my mind. You need to watch a couple of interviews with her.
So I can hear her voice while I'm reading.
Because she's just so like spunky and just, she's just amazing.
I'll do that. So do you have any particular interview you'd recommend?
The one she did with Dr. Boz was good because they both talked about their moms.
Okay.
And how, they both tried to help their moms and maybe I don't think she was able to help hers as much as she would have liked to.
Okay. I'll watch that. Did I tell you I met Dr. Boz?
Oh, you did? I did too. Yeah.
Yeah, she's so sweet.
Yeah, she is. I didn't really like talk to her. I just kind of said hi, but it was at Keto Palooza. Yeah. And other people were in line talking to her, and I didn't have anything specific. But yeah, we, met her there too. Yeah. She's wearing a Harley jacket and
Are any of you guys going to Keto Palooza this year?
I will.
I'm going to Low Carb for Better Health, the one that's in Burns, Tennessee, or close to Burns, Tennessee. It's at Montgomery Bell Park. It's in Dr. Barry's neighborhood, so to speak.
When is that again, Perry?
I believe it's the 23rd and 24th of August.
So it's
if you do the dinner, that's Friday evening. So it's kind of 2 separate events. But I got tickets for my daughter and I to do the dinner and see the lectures the next day.
Yeah, so it's the exact same weekend as the conference in Wyoming that the Healing Humanity is going to be at, and I may end up going to that one, but I have been looking into Keto Palooza because I want to be able to get to one of those out there in your guys' neck of the woods.
Yeah, I'll be at Keto Palooza as well. This will be my first time.
Awesome.
So. Yeah. So I've talked to my husband about the one in Tennessee. I think it would be kind of a neat, maybe we could make it like a little family trip or something. And that way they can, if we could rent out, I don't know if they have any cabins or anything.
They do. They have cabins, and there's also a lodge, like a motel basic or hotel. Yeah. But anyway, and there's lots of beautiful just scenery and nature around, like places to hike, and it's a really nice park. And they have a pool too, so if you'd like to swim, Kim.
Well, I've got 4 boys, so we'll probably bring them. Which, of course, a couple of them are older now, but they'll probably still come. We tend to do things as a family, even with them.
If I don't end up going to Wyoming, I will try to go to the one in Tennessee.
Yeah, I really hope you can, because I would love to see you in person.
It'd be awesome. Yeah. And I would need the pool for sure, because I'm sure it's much hotter. Like I said, it's been in the 60s still here where I live. And
in August, though, it kind of calms down a little bit.
That's nice.
Not a lot, but like June and July are just like.
But what does that mean temperature wise?
I mean, June and July, like 90s plus on a regular.
Yeah,
August,
we've been having weather in the like 90s to 100.
Yeah.
Like it got up to 100 on Friday.
but by August, it's like, I mean, it's still pretty warm, but you know, I don't know. What do you think, Carrie? About like 80s?
I would say the 80s, like
Yeah,
maybe
I'd probably be okay. I'd probably be
mid
okay
to
with
upper 80s.
Okay, Mike, where are you? 75 today. Where you gotta tell us where you are. So it's 72 where I live right now.
Mike, are you in Indiana?
Iowa. Is that Iowa where you are?
Iowa. Okay.
Iowa. Okay.
One of those I words.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, we've got a high of 72 today, and our highest we're gonna hit in the next 10 days is 83.
Oh, that'll be pretty up there.
Yeah, it's pretty mild. It's pretty mild here. So
I don't even like to get in the swimming pool until it's like, I mean, mid 80s.
yeah.
So if I lived where you lived, I would never be able to. I'd never be able to swim.
This is the first house in a while where we haven't had a pool, because we used to live in California, and we had a pool. So Western Iowa. Okay.
Yeah, it's down to 82 now. It was 91, but we've had some showers. Yeah. And I was thinking to myself when the showers were happening, okay, no power outage during the stream today.
That's right.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. Yeah. So we are taking our break from our ketogenic because of the 4th of July, right? So yeah. So
well, I believe so, right?
I mean, so I am off Tuesday, if that's an option for you guys.
Let me take a
look.
I
think I could probably do Tuesday.
I could do it as long as I'm Pacific time. It would have to be a little bit later, more like, oh wait, no. And I've got meetings all afternoon.
Okay.
So yeah, I probably wouldn't be available until it's kind of late your guys' time.
Like, how late are you talking? I stay up pretty late. I mean, I don't know about Carrie.
I've got a meeting from 2 to 3. I've got another meeting at 3 that'll probably last till 4. So I'm thinking probably give myself some decompression time. So maybe 4:30 Pacific time.
So what time is that Eastern? Is that 3 hours?
7:30.
I mean, that would be fine with me.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would be able to do that. I think I'd be all right.
I think that
maybe we'll do that.
You're Central, right, Carrie?
Yeah, I'm Central.
Okay.
That would be, so that'd be like 6:30. So 4:30.
Yeah, so that would be fine for me.
Yeah, let's do 7:30. I can do 7:30. Let's do that.
Okay, so that would be Tuesday, July 2nd. And okay, cool. Yay. Well,
that way we don't miss.
Yeah, so we don't have to skip a week.
All right.
Awesome. Okie dokie.
Okay, well.
We went long today.
Yeah, we kind of did. So let me just rattle off our channel names real quick. And then if y'all want to come over and check us out, you can. I'm Carnivore Nurse Kim at Carnivore Nurse Kim. Carrie is at My Meat Omorphosis with an O. And Lynn is at Midlife Carnivore. And Charlie is Charlie. And you can find him here most most Sundays.
That's right.
All right, guys. Well,
awesome.
And for some reason, I pulled up Mike's comment, Iowa rocks. And with that, we are out.
Awesome. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.